Jim Carrey was trying to expose the secrets of the government and the Illuminati, but we weren't listening to him? You need to see this. So Jim Carrey went on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show several years ago to promote a movie, and during his entrance, he just kept flashing the symbol of the Illuminati to everyone. He didn't even let Jimmy ask one question about his movie. He spent his whole time trying to wake people up and just expose and talk about the government.
Today we're looking at TikToks that will haunt your dreams.
This is horrific. A whale has just died after it collided with a boat's motor in New Jersey. Now, the incident caused one person to fall overboard and nearly capsized the entire vessel. But even though the person wasn't injured, unfortunately the same cannot be said for the whale, because not long after it washed ashore and succumbed to its injuries.
Thank you to all the channel members for support. If you guys like this video, remember to like the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. Let's just hop into the video. Let's go.
Scariest Things Police Have Seen, Part 46. This was sent to me by a nephew of a trucker who had an encounter with a police officer. This trucker was driving on Highway 152 in California. He got pulled over by a highway patrol officer. It was odd though, because the police vehicle looked like an older 80s model unit. The officer gave him a ticket and left. Later on, the trucker went to the courthouse to fight the ticket. The judge looked at the ticket, got up and asked, "Do you think this is a joke?" The trucker said, "Why?" The judge told him that the officer's name and ID number used on the ticket belonged to an officer that had died on that freeway almost 40 years earlier.
Creepy videos that you shouldn't watch at night, but you're going to anyway, part 10. I just held up 5, what the fuck. And for my dark web lovers, you will love this video because this one actually surfaced on the dark web. Also, I might be going on a TV show. I got contacted by a company to make a TV show on Discovery Channel, pretty much about dark web and creepy videos, so thank you guys. So make sure to show some love so we can get him to see it. I just knocked my lights out. Alright, the video has since been deleted, but people actually downloaded it, so I'm just on YouTube. So this is in binary code. If anybody wants to decode that, please let me know. This video is pretty scary, so let's watch. What the fuck? Oh, hell no. Here's the full binary code, so just save the video. So if you guys need help sleeping at night, click the link in my bio. And once you click the link, click on Get a Peaceful Sleep, and it's an app, download it, and you will get the most peaceful sleep of your life.
Because whenever an inventor creates something that they think will bring great value to the world, they do something called file a patent, which is a system that offers inventors a temporary monopoly on their invention in exchange for sharing it with the world. In theory, a very mutually beneficial agreement. Society gains an invention that advances us, and the inventor makes a lot of money and gains recognition. The idea of patents was created in 1474 in Venice to encourage innovation when they enacted the Venetian Patent Statute. But in 1951, the US passed the Invention Secrecy Act, allowing them to keep certain technologies and inventions a secret legally. If they determine an invention to be detrimental to society, they can classify it, and their inventors are bound by law to not talk about it. Now, if a big company can't lobby a reason to invoke this act on a patent that happens to be detrimental to their wallet, they can simply offer the inventor a lot of money to outright buy the rights to their technology patent and just never put it to use. This practice is known as black shelving, buying patents for the purpose of never putting them to use. And if inventors refuse that, there are other ways to make sure their technology never gets out there, as there are countless cases of this happening, especially when it comes to anything involving cheap, accessible energy. Like the time this guy, Stanley Meyer, invented a car that can run purely on water. And it was all over the news, using a process known as electrolysis, which used electricity to split water molecules, H2O, into oxygen and hydrogen gas, using the hydrogen gas to power the engine, which we know is real. We have hydrogen cars today, although they don't run on water, but rather hydrogen gas pumped directly into the engine, which is expensive and not very accessible. Meyer called his invention a water fuel cell injector, and it was so impressive that scientists and engineers around the country inspected it and confirmed his technology works. In 1998, Stanley was signing a multi-million-dollar deal with investors at a restaurant when all of a sudden he felt incredibly sick, ran into the street, and started throwing up. He died shortly after, with his final words being, "They poisoned me," but his death certificate hid that, and they made up a story about a brain aneurysm. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to notice that this is a very inconvenient pattern among inventors of this type of technology, because Stanley was quite the inventor, one of which included an electromagnetic toroid-shaped device that was hit with a national security order, a torus that emits a toroidal energy field, essentially an energy donut, or a rodent coil, another controversial topic of many online free energy theories. A device that harnesses harnesses the unique properties of toroidal fields to create energy through a system called vortex-based mathematics, a 9-digit pattern that's also the foundation of that whole 369 thing that Nikola Tesla claimed to hold the key to understanding the universe, that appears to create energy in a closed system with near 100% efficiency, breaking the first 2 laws of thermodynamics, the thought of which makes physicists cry who insist it's physically impossible. But this concept was replicated in tests like mathematicians Marco Rodin's Rodin coil and Victor Schoberger's vortex machine. Even NASA briefly experimented with an engine called the M-Drive, which used similar principles to produce energy and was quickly deemed pseudoscience and shut down. Now, Stanley Meyer's device didn't run on gas, electricity, or even water. It ran on nothing. Exactly where we find those quantum vacuum fluctuations, zero-point energy. Drawing energy from this zero-point field, Nikola Tesla and other scientists of our past called this field the ether, a layer beyond our dimension that we can't exactly see but can still interact with, exactly what quantum mechanics is slowly beginning to prove. Ether was even officially listed as a 5th element in our education systems for centuries, and is also how the rumored Tartarian Empire, the Egyptians, Atlantis, and other advanced ancient cultures of our past are said to have drawn energy from the sky by extracting it from the ether that exists all around us, the zero-point energy field. But by the 1920s, scientists were forced to reject the notion of ether, conforming to the regular 4 elements as we know today. As we know, Tesla himself even tried experimenting with and bringing this technology into the modern world, but was also silenced from doing so. Let's hope I'm not next on their hit list.
I feel like it's well known that once you discover something, mostly if something that goes against like the big corporation, yeah, it's wraps, you're done.
This is the creepiest account on all of TikTok. So basically this account posts a lot of weird stuff, and in their newest videos they claim to have brought a banana to life. And this banana that's been brought to life even throws up. Now, I don't know about you, but that does not look like throw up to me. Now, since seeing this alive banana, a lot of people think that this is real. Now, I'm like 80% sure that this banana is not actually alive. Like, here's something else that the banana account has posted, and they have a bunch of other really weird stuff like this on their account. Because of that, I'm gonna say they have some kind of string or something attached to this banana to make it move. But what do you guys think?
Jim Carrey was trying to expose the secrets of the government and the Illuminati, but we weren't listening to him? You need to see this. So Jim Carrey went on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show several years ago to promote a movie, and during his entrance, he just kept flashing the symbol of the Illuminati to everyone. He didn't even let Jimmy ask one question about his movie. He spent his whole time trying to wake people up and just expose and talk about the government. The producers had no idea he was gonna do this.
Have you, like you don't know what it is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
The producers had no clue he was gonna do that, and it sounded like people were laughing during the interview, but everyone who went to the live taping exposed that no one was laughing. It was completely silent, and they just edited laugh tracks over it, which makes it so much creepier. People are worried for his health and safety now after putting himself on the line like this, and the weird fact that he's had less jobs recently and now he's suddenly choosing to retire.
Well, I'm retiring, and this is something you might never hear another celebrity say. I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough.
I'm gonna show you one last crazy clip of what he said, but before I do, make sure you follow so you find and know the craziest conspiracy theories about each of these celebrities and requests you want to see next.
You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to turn us into, consumer drones of some sort. Hold on, I just got to get this. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I was temporarily interrupted by my iPhone 6 Plus.
I mean, if I'm being honest, he is a comedian, so maybe he's just trying to joke with it. I mean, I don't know, but if he really was going after the Illuminati and the higher-ups like that, he's very brave because they will probably come for his soul.
Don't watch this at night, you've been warned. So the person that posted this said that they were recording themselves reading a book when this happened. Basically, this person or thing walked into frame from behind the house. Now watch the way that it walks. A lot of people think that it doesn't walk like a regular human. Now everybody has a lot of different theories in the comments. They're saying things like something looks very wrong with the arms. They're also pointing out other creepy things about the video, like a shadow moving inside the front door, and what appears to be someone peeking through the window. What do y'all think of this?
Here are the spookiest things in space, and they just get scarier. There are giant voids in space which contain far fewer galaxies than there should be, and hypothetically these voids can combine and get bigger and bigger. These voids are the emptiest of the emptiness of space. It's the loneliest place in the universe. Nothing can survive on Venus. It's too hostile. The longest any spacecraft has ever survived is only 2 hours. There are many hypotheses about potential life on Venus or in its atmosphere, but it doesn't let us close enough to study it. This NASA graphic shows the orbits of all of the potentially hazardous asteroids. These aren't even just the asteroids we know about. These are only the potentially bad ones. There are black holes wandering around space. They're so stealthy that they're nearly impossible to detect. Our galaxy alone is estimated to have about 12 free-floating black holes. The most powerful explosions in space happen suddenly, and if one was close enough to harm us, we wouldn't know until it reached Earth. Gamma-ray bursts are thought to have caused mass extinctions on Earth in the past. Oumuamua is the first interstellar object to pass through our solar system, and it was observed speeding up, not as the result of gravity, which could be a few things, but some astronomers are convinced it's an alien craft. Earth receives mysterious radio signals that happen in repetitive patterns. For example, we received one that happened every 18 minutes and 18 seconds for 3 months and then suddenly stopped. Astronomers estimate that fast radio bursts put out as much energy in a millisecond as the sun puts out in 3 days, and astronomers aren't sure what the cause is. Something in the middle of our region of space is drawing all nearby galaxies in, including us. Observations suggest that this is something with a mass millions of times that of the Milky Way, but we can't see it because our galaxy blocks our view.
Lady in the middle of the night gets a doorbell. Now lucky for her, she has one of those Ring cameras. When she checks her Ring camera, she sees the shadow of a person walking off in the distance. But what she also sees is this white envelope on the ground. Her being really curious, not really thinking too much, she gets up out of bed, she goes downstairs, she makes sure the person is not outside waiting for her by the door. She opens the door, she grabs the envelope, closes the door, and she looks at it. When she opened it, it said, "I need you to send me a picture in the mirror with nothing on. If you don't have a printer, go to the library, put the photos back in this envelope, and leave it on your porch, and I'll collect it. Thank you." Now anybody in their right mind would not do it, so she didn't. Then the next night comes, the doorbell rings again. She checks the Ring camera, she sees this person walking off again, she sees an envelope on the floor. Same thing, repeat. She gets the envelope. This time the message said, "I told you to take a picture with nothing on and send me the pictures inside of the envelope. You have been warned," written at the bottom. Now around this time, she gets really terrified. Really terrified. She calls the police. Police get to the place and they tell her, "So when he comes up to your doorbell and rings the door, you don't see his face?" She said, "Well, yeah, I can see his face if I rewind the footage and I actually check when he approaches my doorbell, but for some reason I never did yet. I just caught him walking off when he rung my doorbell on the Ring camera live." So she decides to go on her footage from her Ring doorbell camera, and she can see this man with this creepy smile after he rung the doorbell. It was so crazy because he don't have on the mask or anything. His face is blatantly in front of the camera, and he knows it. He knows that this camera is looking at him, but he don't care. Police tell her, "All right, ma'am, we'll be on the lookout for him. The minute you hear the doorbell ring, you call us." She says, "Okay." Mind you, this is about to be night 3, and she's not doing the envelope with the photos. Of course she's not, so this is gonna piss that creep off. Night 3 happens. This time the doorbell rings, and it rings because it's really late. 2 a.m. this time. Last time it was ringing around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. This time 2 a.m. She calls the police immediately, but then she hears her back door open. It was one of them doors, every time you open it, it goes dun dun, side door open, or back door open, or front door open. Side door. I hate them so much, but it helped her in this situation because the door late at night said dun dun, back door open. Now she was wondering why the hell was her back door open. Then she remembered she was doing her garden during the day. She forgot to lock the back door, so at this moment she knows that the creep is coming. She locks her room door. She's on the phone with the police. She says, "Yes, this creep is in my house. I think he's trying to do something to me, like murder me, kidnap me, something. Can you please hurry up and come to this address?" Police said, "Yes, ma'am. Stay on the line with me. We're on the way." Now she can hear this person with big boots coming up the steps, so she tells the cop, "Please hurry up, he's coming up the steps." He goes close to the door. Of course he twists the doorknob. It's locked. He knocks and he knocks, and she don't say a word. Now she don't have a weapon, she don't have nothing. She just have to wait and hope the police make it in time. But this person don't knock anymore. This person actually walks away, walks from the door, because she can hear them big boots walk back downstairs. Police get there, they search the home, and he's gone. Now this creep ended up disappearing for weeks, didn't show up at her house. She felt like her calling the police scared him away, but it did the opposite, because that's what he wanted. He wanted her to get comfortable. He wanted her to almost forget about everything, feel relief, which she did. And then there was this final night that then changed everything.
What's something that happened to you as a kid but nobody believes? My imaginary friends were way too realistic, and I was so obsessed with them, I just know they were the spirits of children who passed. Many people said breathing underwater. They experienced breathing underwater. This comment says, my sister and I swear on the Bible that we could legit do it when we were young. We also had the exact same dream one night when we shared a room. I remember flying over a tree, too. I breathed underwater, I swear to God. I watched my stomach go up and down with each breath. I don't know what it was, but I used to be absolutely terrified of one specific corner of the ceiling in my room. Used to look up at it all the time, felt like there was something there. I saw shadowy figures every night, seeing the Hat Man almost every night. I saw a spider walk out of my room in a top hat with a briefcase. Shadow people are evolving. Floating down the stairs, like just take the first step and float to the bottom, always happened when no one was watching. Another person who swears they floated down the stairs, also, why were we all on the stairs? I used to see 3 blurry figures walk out of my wardrobe around my room and disappear back in there every night for years. It bothered me so much that I had therapy as a kid for it. You guys are loving these comment videos, so should I read more?
Being able to breathe underwater? That is crazy. If they were able to breathe underwater back then, why couldn't they breathe underwater right now? You know what I'm saying?
I was just reading a study by Princeton neuroscientists, and they figured out that the brain is a sender and receiver of low electromagnetic wave frequency, and that these frequencies that the brain sends and picks up connects everybody on this neural network, basically collective consciousness, and that the thoughts that you send out can interact with people up to 10,000 kilometers away. Really, it's infinite, so every thought that you've ever had is out there able to be decoded. So if you think about it like this, you have 2 people. One person's in the middle of the water, one person's on shore. This person jumps into the water, and it creates an interference pattern or a wave pattern that will go to the opposite side of the water. So the person that's in the middle will be interacted with by that interference pattern, whether they're aware of it or not. And that's exactly how it works with your thoughts. You send out a thought and it goes out as a wave pattern, and it can interact with other people as it goes out if they match the frequency of the thought. So thoughts that you have, the things that pop up in your brain, might not even be your own thoughts. It might be you matching the frequency of someone else's thoughts, and then your brain's picking it up. Isn't that trippy?
That actually is super trippy. That's kind of like a ripple effect. Like, you know, when you jump in water, then the ripples just go all the way out to like the other side of the pool, lake, or whatever you're in. It's pretty much the same thing he's saying with thoughts. It's actually insane.
Rare interstellar object the size of Manhattan could be an alien probe, according to Harvard scientists. Sorry, is an alien probe heading towards Earth? This is an interstellar object. It came from outside of the solar system and then traveled here, and it is the largest and fastest interstellar object we've ever seen. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb suggested in a new paper that the object could be an intelligently directed alien craft observing Earth with a possibly hostile intentions. Let's check it out. Here's the paper, which is essentially a giant thought experiment saying, what if this was aliens? What would we see? What would happen? In fact, if we scroll to the conclusions, it says this. We strongly emphasize that this paper is largely an exercise with interesting discoveries and strange serendipities worthy of a record in the scientific literature. By far, the most likely outcome will be that 3I Atlas is a completely natural interstellar object, probably a comet, and the authors await the astronomical data to support this likely origin. And then they say, but we should think outside the box when we see things like this and consider aliens. And that is because the author of this paper is Avi Loeb, that Harvard astrophysicist, and for those of you who don't know, he is an alien optimist. He likes to approach space mysteries with aliens in mind, which is fine. We need to look at things from all angles. He's the same person who said that aliens might use a mothership in our solar system, which went viral, and that interstellar object Oumuamua could be aliens, which was largely disproven. He also thought another interstellar object landed in our ocean and actually went out with a boat and collected pieces of it, and it wasn't aliens. So no, this object is not aliens. It is a very, very cool object that came from outside of the solar system, but it's not coming near Earth, it's not dangerous, and it's not aliens. And if you want a scientific video of it, it is pinned on my page.
I feel like she did a very good explanation on what that could be, because a lot of people are like, oh my god, there's aliens coming here and they're gonna wipe out all of America. It's gonna be insane. Like a lot of fear mongering, but I feel like she kept it realistic and was like, it's probably not aliens, it's probably just like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
This woman was stuck to a couch for 6 years. In 2004, emergency responders arrived at Gail Grind's home after her health took a critical turn. What they discovered inside was something that haunted them for years. Gail, who was 40 years old, had spent the last 6 years of her life sitting, unmoving, on the same couch. She had become so severely obese that her skin had fused to the fabric. Layers of flesh, waste, sweat, and decay had molded with the cushion, creating a grotesque bond that no one could easily break. The air in the house was thick, suffocating, filled with the stench of filth, rot, and years of neglect. The floor was also littered with garbage. She had become physically unable to move, even to use the bathroom, and everything happened right there on that couch. When doctors tried to save her, they spent over 6 desperate hours attempting to separate her from the furniture without tearing her apart. Her body had literally grown around the couch, tissue fused with cushion. It was a medical horror unlike anything they'd seen. Surgeons worked until their hands shook, but it was too late. Gail died during their effort to save her.
Times actors weren't acting. The Blair Witch Project. When the Blair Witch Project came out in 1999, people genuinely thought it was real. The footage felt too raw, too chaotic, and too believable. And that's because it kind of was. What most people don't know is that the actors weren't given a real script. Instead, they were thrown into the woods with handheld cameras and told to react to whatever happened, without any clue how the story would unfold. Each morning, the filmmakers would leave notes for the actors in hidden film canisters. These notes had basic instructions like, don't trust the others today, or refuse to keep walking. The actors had no idea what the other cast members were told, which led to real arguments and tension. Most of what you hear in the movie is completely improvised. The goal was simple, make the fear feel real, and it worked. They were isolated in the middle of the woods for 8 straight days. At night, the directors would sneak into their camp to mess with them. They'd shake their tents, snap branches, leave creepy stick figures outside, or blast unsettling sounds from hidden speakers. The actors had no idea when or if something was going to happen. They weren't just scared in character, they were actually scared. To make things worse, the crew started rationing their food. Each day, the actors were given less to eat, which made them irritable, disoriented, and emotionally drained. All of that added to the raw, unstable energy of the movie. And then, there's that infamous final scene. Mike standing silently in the corner of the basement while Heather screams off camera. She didn't even know what she was going to find until the moment it happened. The Blair Witch Project blurred the line between horror and reality in a way that no movie had done before. And maybe that's why it stuck with people, because deep down, you can feel it. It doesn't feel like a performance. It feels like something that was never supposed to be seen.
If the directors went that intensely for me, I would forget to record. I wouldn't even record. I'd be like, yeah, nah, dude. I think the last thing we should be worried about right now is recording.
This man was the most dangerous in the world. In 1963, in New York City, a man named Jerry Dunk ran a small hot dog stand on Main Street. But his hot dogs weren't just snacks. They were a sensation. People said they were the best they'd ever tasted. No one knew what made them so good. Jerry's secret recipe was a closely guarded mystery. Families lined up around his stand. Jerry always greeted them with a warm smile and a friendly attitude. He'd chat with the dads, talk about sports, or fishing. Many of the fathers said, "I'm just going back to Jerry's for another hot dog," and left with a smile. But they never came home. Police started an investigation. At first, Jerry was all smiles, playful, helpful, saying, "I'm just a guy with a grill." But as more men went missing, the police searched his house. What they found was horrifying. In Jerry's basement, hidden behind a locked steel door, there was a full-size basketball court. But that wasn't the scary part. At the other end of the room stood a massive industrial incinerator, its walls blackened with soot. Next to it, piles of men's clothing. When the police found him in his secret hideout, Jerry just smiled and said, "First rule of the game, you gotta win." When they asked where the missing men were, he pointed to the incinerator and whispered, "I'm the king of Dunk." Then he ran straight toward the flames, and now you can probably guess how he kept his hot dogs hot.
In 2004, a family found something on the side of the road they thought was a dog. It wasn't. It looked like a greyhound, thin, silent, too still. They brought it home, named it Max. But Max never barked, never blinked, never slept. At night, he just sat in the hallway, watching. One night, the father got up for water and saw Max standing. But not like a dog. He was standing on 2 legs, taller than the doorframe, and he was smiling. The family left that morning and never went back. But when the realtor arrived days later, the front door was open, and something was sitting in the hallway, waiting.
Does anyone else remember the terrifying story of Carmen Winstead? Carmen Winstead was just a teenage girl that was trying to make friends at her new school. Her dad had recently lost his job, so he and Carmen relocated to Indiana so that he could find a new place of work. This was difficult for Carmen, as it would be for most 17-year-olds, and as a result, she found her first year at this new school to be pretty challenging. But then, she was befriended by a group of 5 other girls in her class. They all appeared pretty nice, but Carmen would soon discover that these girls had been gossiping about her behind her back and spreading rumors about her. One of these rumors that this group of girls had started was that Carmen was sleeping with the school's janitor. This ultimately damaged her reputation at school, so now she not only lost these 5 girls that she thought were her friends, but also any other chance to make new friends. Carmen summoned up the strength to confront the girls that were fabricating these horrible lies about her, but this just led to even more bullying. In response to Carmen's attempt to stand up for herself, the girls started calling her names, and they even broke into her locker and ruined her personal items. Carmen was really hurt by this and didn't know what else to do, so one day she stayed after class and told her teacher about the relentless bullying she had been experiencing. The next day after lunch, there was a fire drill scheduled. As the students gathered outside and the teachers began doing roll call, Carmen was seen by a sewer opening with the 5 girls that had been tormenting her. The girls thought it would be funny and embarrassing to Carmen if they pushed her down the sewer drain in front of the entire class. So they circled around her and pushed her into the opening of the sewer. As Carmen fell into the sewer opening, one of the girls shouted, "She's in the sewer," in an attempt to get attention and embarrass Carmen. The teacher rushed over to the opening, and when they looked inside, they saw Carmen standing still with her head turned to one side. The police were called, and when they arrived, they saw that Carmen's face had been completely torn off during the fall, and her neck had been broken. Everyone involved was questioned, and the 5 girls claimed that Carmen had just fallen into the opening all on her own. Because of this, the case was closed and classified as an accident. A few months later, strange posts from an unidentified person started appearing on the MySpace profiles of all of the students that went to Carmen's school. The posts were saying that Carmen's death had not been an accident. Those responsible for Carmen's death were given a window of opportunity to confess to authorities or face dire consequences, and these 5 girls never turned themselves in. Instead, each one of them were found dead, one by one, after they refused to accept responsibility for their actions. Carmen's spirit continued to haunt the internet by sending chain mail that stated that if the receiver didn't spread the word about the horrible things those 5 girls did to her, they too would suffer the same fate. Whoever didn't forward the email or repost her message would begin to hear laughter coming from their sink, the shower drain, or the toilet. They would go to sleep that night only to wake up in a sewer, terrified and completely paralyzed. Then, as they screamed in horror, Carmen would come and tear their face off, just like what had happened to her.
There's a road that is so haunted, people have actually abandoned their cars in the middle of the night and taken off running on foot just to get away from whatever it was they saw. And I know what you're thinking, why would anyone get out of their car on a dark, empty road in the middle of the night, especially when locals will tell you that if you're driving on this road after dark, whatever you do, don't stop. But once I tell you Julia's story and what happened to her, I think it'll start to make a little bit more sense. So Julia had been visiting her dad at this new care facility he had just been moved into, and although it wasn't late, it was December, so it was already getting dark by the time she was getting ready to leave. And as she's walking out into the main lobby, this nurse that's sitting at the front desk casually mentions that there's some construction on the highway, and if she wants to save a little bit of time, there's actually this old back road Julia can take instead. And you know, Julia just politely nods her head, and as she is about to walk out the front door, the nurse quietly says, underneath her breath, "Just don't miss the turn." And Julia turns around, she's like, "Wait, what did you say?" And the nurse is like, "Oh, nothing, just don't miss the turn, don't want you getting lost." And she just kind of laughs under her breath a little bit like it's some kind of joke, which was weird for sure, but Julia just thanked her and walked out the door, and I'm sure you can already guess where this is going because, yeah, she missed the turn. And the crazy thing is, she wasn't even that far off. If she had just driven a little bit further, maybe like 100 feet, she would have seen the right road, but it was getting dark, she was already feeling a little bit turned around, and instead of backtracking the way she came, she just figured the road would eventually loop back around. But that's when things started to get strange, and what happened next is burned into Julia's mind. It is something she will never forget. Julia had only been driving for about about 5 minutes when she heard and felt this sickening thump against the front of her car. She knew that this could only mean one thing. Her heart instantly started pounding, and without a second thought, she pulled over to check it out because the thought of hitting an animal or a person flashed through her mind and just made her absolutely sick to her stomach. But she barely had the car in park when suddenly a hand slammed against her window, dragging down the glass and leaving behind a gruesome trail of smeared blood. She flinched and closed her eyes for just a second. When she finally worked up the courage to open them again, the hand was gone, but this ugly red streak on her window was still there. Still running on pure adrenaline at this point, she pushed open her car door and slowly stepped out to take a look, but the only light came from her headlights and there was nothing in the road, nothing in front of her car and nothing behind it. So she went around to the back of her car and started to walk a little bit further down the road towards the direction she had just come from, but she saw nothing. She turned to head back to her car, but the moment she spun around, her heart dropped because her car was gone. The road in front of her was completely empty, not a single sign of her vehicle. And before she could even begin to process what was going on, she whipped her head back around, hoping against all odds that maybe she just got disoriented, that her car was actually the other way. But instead of her car, standing there in the middle of this desolate road was a girl. Julia called out to the girl. She was asking if she was okay, if she was hurt, or how could she help. But the closer Julia got, the more this uneasy feeling started to build in her stomach. Something about the girl was off. She looked like a girl, sure, but there was something about her that wasn't quite right. Maybe it was how her arms seemed a little too long for her body, or the way her lips curled into this smile that didn't quite meet the expression in her eyes. It looked human for only a moment before Julia's eyes adjusted and her brain screamed that deep down, whatever this thing was, it wasn't a little girl and it definitely wasn't human. She knew that if she didn't get away, something really bad was going to happen, so without another thought, she took off running down the road in the opposite direction. Julia ran as fast as her legs would carry her, literally running for her life until she reached the edge of this field that lined the isolated road. But as she ran down the side of the ditch, her foot caught on something, sending her tumbling the rest of the way down. Her head hit the ground hard and everything went black. The next thing she knew, she was waking up in the hospital surrounded by nurses who explained that she had been found unconscious in a ditch just a few feet from her car, which according to them was found sitting in the middle of the road with the driver's side door hanging wide open. But when Julia asked them about the girl, about the blood, and about the accident, they just looked at her completely confused and explained that there was no girl, no blood, and definitely no sign of an accident. Her car didn't even have a scratch on it. But here's the thing that still messes with Julia to this day. The one detail she absolutely cannot get out of her head. When she was finally released from the hospital and went to pick up her car from impound, she walked around to the driver's side and there it was, just this faint dusty handprint on the window. It wasn't bloody, but it was there and it matched exactly what she saw that night. Julia still has no idea what she saw or experienced out there on that road, and when she went back to the care facility a few months later to visit her dad and also ask that nurse what the heck was up with that road, the staff told her that no nurse matching that description had ever worked there. If you have made it to the end of this video and you haven't had a chance to check the caption, this is a fictional scary story, which means it was entirely made up and didn't actually happen.
Bro, the Grand Canyon is on fire. In fact, it's been on fire for almost a month. And it's not even like it's small. Over 1,000 firefighters have been struggling to contain two fires, one called White Sage, we'll get to that, and the other called Dragon Bravo, which are on and around the North Rim. So far, they've burnt the equivalent of 113,000 football fields, destroyed close to 100 structures, including homes of park officials, a visitor center, a gas station, a water plant, and even the historic Grand Canyon Lodge. And the reason you may or may not have seen people freaking out about this on TikTok is because White Sage is a sacred medicinal plant, often burnt by Native American tribes for cleansing and purification. Lord knows we need some of that right now. And authorities currently believe that both fires were started by lightning, believe it or not. Oh, they really don't want us to see August. The White Sage fire is currently 83% contained, while Dragon Bravo, on the other hand, is only 4% contained. And recent reports say that it tripled in size in just 3 days. See you in August. This is horrific. A whale has just died after it collided with a boat's motor in New Jersey. Now, the incident caused one person to fall overboard and nearly capsized the entire vessel. But even though the person wasn't injured, unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the whale, because not long after, it washed ashore and succumbed to its injuries. But the big question that people are asking now is, why didn't they turn the motor off if they knew that a whale was near? Well, the answer is apparently they didn't. Reports say that this happened in a super shallow area of water, which whales girls don't commonly go through. So as of right now, it's just being treated as a freak accident.
Let's talk about one of the most unsettling videos out on the internet. The backyard humanoid creature video. If you're anywhere close to a backyard or window, maybe it's not a good idea to watch this right now. But before I show you a bit of the video, let's break it down a little bit. On August 12th, 2017, user Richard Grebenik uploaded what many claim to be one of the most unsettling videos on the internet, called Evil Creature Caught on Tape by Rick Grebenik. And in the video, he'd be hanging out by his backyard, at night of course, and suddenly he'd see a strange white pale humanoid creature approaching him and staring at him. The video is actually quite unsettling, like he's panicking and he's on the phone with his pastor. Let me just show you, okay? If you can't see it, turn up your brightness. Here it is.
Hey Mike, I need you. This thing is freaky. It's on video. Huh?
Not a person?
No, it's an evil identity. It's evil entity. This thing's like wicked looking. You should see this thing, Mike. Oh my god. Like a gargoyle. It's like a gargoyle, man. Oh my gosh.
I command you to go in Jesus' name.
Yeah, no, if I saw that in my backyard, I would pass away on the spot. But don't worry, at the end, the pastor does a chant and it goes away.
And this thing is, oh my gosh. Oh my.
Yeah, I don't know what he said either. But people in the comments are freaking out, saying, damn, even if it's fake, it's really creepy. Even some people relating to what Rick saw. Like, pause to read. What makes this video somewhat more believable, the fact that if you go to Rick's page, it is a totally normal page. Like, he just uploads himself singing. And that's the only weird video. Yeah, listen, fake or not, you gotta admit that if you saw that yourself in your backyard, you would also freak out. If that's an actual human, that's terrifying. If that's like a humanoid creature, that's also even more terrifying. What do you guys think? Did Rick just make this video to go viral and have more views on his other videos? Or did Rick really encounter a strange, unknown creature that night? Let me know.
Creepy TikToks that you should never watch alone, Part 1.
Alright, so I'm sitting here playing Rocket League at the moment. Every time I'm here by myself, I swear this place is haunted. I've been fucking around with Ouija boards and I was stupid enough to bloody invite demons to possess me and shit because I didn't believe in it. But ever since then, every time I'm here by myself, I hear shit outside. So I'm playing Rocket League. It's fucking... Oh, did you hear that? Oh, what the f***? No way. No fucking way. Hello? Is anybody here? Holy shit, why is that fucking moving? Hello? Is anybody here?
Notice how the camera
Oh my
is
God,
affected.
man. What the fuck?
This is very common in hauntings.
No f- Hello? I heard you. No. No fucking way. No fucking way. Oh my god. Hello? And I swear I just saw a fucking shadow moving here. So what's this fucking light switch? Oh man, I'm absolutely f***ing myself. No. That can't be. No, this I'm. Oh no. No, this I'm out of here. Goodbye.
Here's another scary video you need to see.
Okay, so I was in my room, I just heard a loud ass bang, and I know I have to record it so someone can believe me. my sister's dog. What the f?
Not me throwing my phone when I saw it. Holy.
I want to talk about the O'Fallon footage. On the eastern side of Missouri, a tape was recovered from a camera recorder of a missing man in 2002. This photo found in the footage has marked the most chilling mystery to have ever come out of this county. The man is pictured here. His name was Roy Hafer, and he was sort of an amateur investigator. You know, he would go to scenes with recent crimes, places where he could film, and he could sell the footage hopefully to a news station. And on an evening where he ventured to a hotspot where a woman had gone missing just a year prior, he would never make it home from that abandoned house. A police search was conducted by the following morning, as well as a search of the abandoned home and a search of this underpass where a significant amount of blood was recovered, but his body was not. They would also go on to find his camera recorder where they would find that final footage. This was the face seen in the last frame of that video footage.
These are videos you can never watch at night. Okay, so we all know how there's some videos you just can't watch at night because they're that scary. Well, in this series, I'll be showing you all those videos, so be ready to get scared. Okay, so yeah, after watching that video, I'm definitely not sleeping tonight. What even is that thing? And just imagine you just see it crawling in your room right now. All I gotta say is I wish you the best sleeping tonight, because I'm telling you this much, I'm gonna have trouble.
Dude, that thing looked insane, dude. That looked something like almost from a movie. It might have been something from a movie, but like, yeah, nah.
Do not watch this video at night. This will freak you out. In the photo behind me is a man named Cody. And while he was home by himself, he was starting to experience some very odd things. He was hearing noises, and it was pretty clear that he thought someone was in the house. And by the way, the footage that I'm about to show you was recorded by him. When he walked over to the bathroom, the lights were flickering. But not only were the lights flickering, but the faucet was on, so he turned the faucet off and left. At this point, Cody got pretty freaked out, so he went outside and called his wife and let her know what was happening. His wife insisted that he would stay outside, however, Cody decided to go back in and do some more filming. When he went back inside, the entire kitchen was a complete mess. Cupboards were open and things were thrown around as seen in this photo, and this right here is the clip of him first walking in. When Cody watched this clip back, he saw something absolutely terrifying in one of the frames. This is the still frame. Can you see it? This is what he saw looking out from the corner of his daughter's bedroom door. If I were Cody, I'd be selling my house and moving out immediately. Do not watch this video at night. This will freak you out. After hearing this story, you'll be checking underneath your bed before you go to sleep every single night. This story is from 7 years ago, and it starts as follows. A 22-year-old woman was getting ready to go to bed. Before going to bed, she decided to go collect the mail before coming back. The woman then laid down on her bed and started talking on the phone to her boyfriend. A few seconds later, she ended up dropping her phone off the side of her bed, so of course she bent down to pick it up. But as she bent down to pick it up, she noticed something very unusual and very creepy. She saw a man underneath the bed facing away from her in the opposite direction. As to not let the guy know that she had seen him, she decided to pick up the phone and tell her boyfriend that she was going to go to the shower. When she got into the bathroom, she locked the door, turned on the shower, and climbed out the window. Once on the ground, she called 911 and they arrived on scene. The man that the police had ended up dragging out from her apartment turned out to be a very thin, wiry, and creepy-looking guy. The most horrifying part about it, though, is that the police officers told her that after she had gone to the bathroom, he was found standing outside of the bathroom door with a knife in his hand, getting ready to do some unspeakable things. As it turns out, the man had found his way in after she had gone to collect the mail and left her apartment door open for just a few minutes. Have fun sleeping tonight. Did you check underneath the bed?
This is why I be telling you guys, man. You gotta make sure you lock them doors, cause she just left it open for a few minutes and he snuck in. That's crazy. I mean, in that situation, that's like a rare case. Like, I don't necessarily think like if you leave it open for like a few minutes, someone's gonna sneak in, unless you have a stalker. But still, you just gotta always make sure your doors are locked.
These are scary videos you should never watch at night. Okay, so the video I'm about to show you shows a kid who was home alone one night when something or somebody started knocking on his door saying it was his mother. But the thing is, his mom wasn't even home because she was working the night shift. And the way it's knocking and sounding make it sound so demonic. Let me know what you think this is because it's absolutely disturbing.
Gabe? Gabe, it's your mom. You should come out. You've been in there for so long. Gabe, come out. Gabe? Gabe, it's your mother. You should come out.
Then what's your name then?
That's actually very trippy and scary, and it almost sounds like a parrot. Like, you guys ever heard those birds talk? It almost sounds like a parrot talking, and people don't really talk like that. So whatever ghost that was trying to trick bro, worse. Like, it just wouldn't have worked.
This is one case that still haunts me. The story of the disappearance of Jason Jolkowski is one of the weirdest things that you'll ever read about, and it's haunting because to this day, this mystery has never been solved. So let's take a look at it. So this is Jason Jolkowski. He was born in 1981 and lived in Omaha, Nebraska all his life. And this story takes place in 2001. So on Wednesday, June 13th, 2001, Jason was called into work early. So initially, Jason planned on walking to his job, which was 4 miles away, due to the fact that his car was in a repair shop that day. But he eventually made plans for a friend to meet him at a high school that was nearby. So this high school, Benson High School in Omaha, Nebraska, was only half a mile from Jason's house. Literally an 8-block walk, and that's where his friend was supposed to meet him. So just take a look at this photo. This is the exact route that Jason was going to take to the high school. It's only a 10-minute walk, and keep in mind, he was about to make this walk in the middle of the morning in broad daylight. In a city like Omaha, Nebraska, where crimes like disappearances and murders don't really happen all that frequently. So at 10:45 a.m. that morning, a neighbor saw Jason helping his younger brother with the trash outside of his home, and at some point right after that, he left to go on this walk to go meet his friend. And during this walk, Jason vanished off the face of the earth. So to this day, no trace of Jason has ever been found. There were no remains ever recovered. Nobody has seen anybody that's ever looked like Jason. Nobody reported seeing somebody being abducted on the day that he went missing. Nobody even reported seeing anything out of the ordinary. It's as if he simply vanished literally into thin air. They even checked the security camera footage from the school that he was supposed to be walking to that day, and the security camera videos showed that Jason never arrived. It was somewhere on that half-a-mile walk when he vanished. Now, Jason's parents have suggested that they believe he may have been abducted and killed, but with no body ever having been found, that theory is just really hard to prove. And yeah, it's been over 20 years since this happened, and no trace of Jason has ever been found. That's why it's a case that will haunt me. I mean, it's just scary to think that you can be making a half-a-mile walk in the middle of the day, in the middle of your city, and go missing, and no one will ever even find a piece of your clothing.
If you see someone with a face like this, run as fast as you can and don't look back. Oh shit.
Huh? What? What's wrong with you?
But before showing you the end of this video, I advise you to check if your phone is not being spied on by clicking here then on more. If you see this app, delete it immediately. So, John was driving home late at night when suddenly a woman with a distorted and barely recognizable face appeared in the middle of the road. Forcing him to stop, she claimed that something had taken her son. Fam, her terror was real. Her voice trembled with every word. John was shocked, paralyzed by uncertainty about how to respond. Oh shit. Observing her strange deformed features, he realized she was more than just a desperate mother, but something much more sinister. Unbeknownst to him, this woman was the host of a sinister entity. John was truly frightened. Now watch what happens next in this video. Remember to follow us and save this video if you want to be protected.
The apple!
What?
let me ask you a brief question. If you guys watch horror movies, which one is your favorite? If any of you said The Conjuring, then I'll bet you knew that it's based on a real story, but if you didn't, here's the summarized version. So this TikTok slide shows one that I was tagged in, where it shows the original Conjuring house for the first slide. The second slide shows the original Conjuring family, known as the Perron family. And the third slide shows this creepy girl right here. Now, in 1971, the Perron family ended up moving into a 14-bedroom farmhouse that had been occupied by many other people for many generations before. Over time, they noticed unexplainable events happening, like things going missing, and these would only get progressively worse over time. After studying the history of the house, they realized that somebody that used to live there studied Satanism, and this was their grave right here. A short while later, the real Ed and Lorraine, both of them paranormal investigators, ended up going to the house and conducting a seance, where reportedly Carolyn Perron ended up becoming possessed. Now, this is a highly paraphrased version of this story, but if you guys want to, you should read the entire one. Just don't do it at night.
Did you know that since the year 2000, nearly 200 people have been reported missing on cruise ships? Only 10% of them are ever resolved, and only 15 to 20% of them are ever reported on. Cruise ships are not legally required to make public the disappearances that happen on their cruise ships, and this makes things very complicated for families who are looking for their loved ones. That is exactly what happened to Rebecca Corium. Rebecca was just 24 years old when she was hired by Disney to work on their cruise ships. She spent a few months at their Disney park in Orlando, Florida to get some training before spending 4 months on a boat that went to the Bahamas. After that 4-month time, she went back to England to spend some time with her family before going back to Los Angeles to get on the Disney Wonder. This is the boat that Rebecca would be working on, and she was hired to work with children. March 22nd of 2011 would be the last time Rebecca was ever seen. Rebecca was seen on CCTV footage in the employee lounge talking on an internal phone line. This was about 5:45 in the morning. She is seen wearing men's clothing and looking visibly distressed. Rebecca would hang up the phone and simply vanish into thin air. When Rebecca didn't show up to her 9 a.m. shift, the employees immediately started searching the ship for her. When they were unable to find Rebecca, they did call the Coast Guard, the United States Coast Guard, and also the Mexican Navy. The ship was en route from Los Angeles to Mexico. Under the flag of convenience system, the jurisdiction of the missing persons case would fall under whoever the boat was registered to. And a lot of these cruise lines register these boats in the Bahamas because apparently it is a tax haven. But Disney would not report Rebecca missing for 3 days. They waited 3 days to call the Bahamas Police Department to report Rebecca missing. The Bahamas Police Department did send out one investigator. This one investigator spent 1 day on the Disney Wonder and interviewed 6 of the 950 employees and none of the 2,000 vacationers. It was several days after this that the family was brought out to come check out the Disney Wonder ship, and they were treated as they described as Disney style. They were brought to the boat in blacked out car and were brought into the back entrance of the boat and then allowed to search the area. They were also shown CCTV footage of Rebecca where she did appear to be fine. The captain told Rebecca's family that he believed that Rebecca had been swept up by a rogue wave on Deck 5. But when the family was brought to Deck 5, it was on the bridge of the ship and there was an employee swimming pool, and the entire area was guarded by a 6-foot-tall wall. They were then taken to Rebecca's cabin where they showed her family a flip-flop that they had allegedly found on Deck 5 that allegedly belonged to Rebecca. The very next day, Rebecca's family watched as the Disney Wonder set out for another cruise, a brand new cruise with a whole new set of passengers. Allegedly, they put out a little memorial on Deck 5 for Rebecca and had like a little ceremony for her. But it seems like they just kind of want to sweep this under the rug, while the Bahamas police did still consider it an open investigation. Rebecca's family is obviously very upset with how this investigation unfolded. I would have been too. But according to Rebecca's father, when they alerted the American Coast Guard and the Mexican Navy, it seems like Disney might have given them the wrong coordinates, so they were searching the wrong area of the ocean. On top of that, allegedly, it was Disney's policy to turn the boat around if they thought someone had been swept up by a rogue wave, and this is not something that happened. Now, I am unsure if that is official, if that is Disney's policy, but that's what was being reported on. The family did hire a private investigator to look into Rebecca's disappearance, and he was able to find that the CCTV footage that the family was provided seemed to be cropped so that the timestamp was taken out of it. The private investigator was also able to find that the CCTV footage was not in the location that Disney claimed it to be. They claimed that this all happened on deck 5, but it was more than likely on deck 1, nowhere near where Rebecca was supposedly swept away by this rogue wave. But the family has asked for copies of the CCTV footage, and they have never been provided it. And this sandal that allegedly belonged to Rebecca that was found on deck 5 wasn't even her shoe size, and it wasn't the style that she would normally buy. And allegedly, the cabin that they were taken to investigate, when they were able to board the ship, that wasn't even Rebecca's cabin. When other Disney employees have been asked about Rebecca's disappearance, they've said that it just simply didn't happen, and that was the answer that they had to give. There was one coworker that implied that Rebecca might have done this to herself because of a messy relationship that was going on, but her family denies this. They say that Rebecca would never do something like this to herself. And then in 2016, there was a pair of ripped shorts that were found among Rebecca's personal effects, and her family believes that there might have, or that this could point to a sign of struggle or something happening before her disappearance. And just months after her disappearance, there was activity in her bank account, and also there were changes made to her social media platforms, like password changes. But there have been no signs of Rebecca since, and she simply vanished into thin air, and it seems like all of this is just being covered up. But what are your thoughts on this case? Let me know down in the comments and follow for more true crime.
They said that Disney had a turnaround policy, like if someone gets get hit by a rogue wave, I guess, but they didn't turn around. They just called the Coast Guard to the complete wrong location, which is actually crazy. But yeah, that was a very interesting story. I've never personally been on a cruise, but if you guys have ever been on a cruise, let me know your thoughts about them in the comments.
I don't usually come across a story that genuinely scares me, but this one does, because it involves a woman who disappears in the remote wilderness, and she is presumed dead. But over the next year, multiple people have claimed to see her, or possibly her ghost, in the area where she went missing. And each time they see her, she looks distorted and in a worse condition. This is the mysterious disappearance of Sandra Hughes, and I promise you it will freak you out. So let's talk about it. Sandra Hughes was a 54-year-old woman who loved the outdoors, so when the pandemic first started, she took the opportunity to solo travel and spend a lot of time in the wilderness by herself. Sandra last spoke with her family on June 26, 2020, and this is when she told them that she was going to camp alone in the Sierra National Forest. She was really excited as she had spent the last 6 months in California, often camping alone and gaining a lot of experience in the outdoors. She was actually known to be an outdoor expert and a survivalist, so when she told her family about her upcoming solo camping trip in the Sierra National Forest, they weren't too worried. So off Sandra went, but it wasn't long into the trip that things started to go wrong, and no one could have expected what was about to happen to her or other campers in the area for years to come. On July 1st, 2020, a couple of campers were hiking near Johnson Meadows just above Bass Lake in the Sierra National Forest when they stumbled across an abandoned campsite. It was a really eerie scene because it looked like the campsite had been completely destroyed, and a bunch of things were kind of just strewn around. The campers then found a folder that contained some important documents, like a birth certificate and a social security card. With the campsite being destroyed like this, the campers felt like something was really wrong. So they called police to report this, and when authorities arrived, they found that the campsite and documents belonged to Sandra Hughes. At this point in time, Sandra wasn't a missing person, but they did find it odd that all of her personal belongings were just abandoned like that. So they started to look for her to see if she was okay. Nothing immediate was found, but then 3 days later, Sandra was spotted, and this is when the story starts to get strange. So on July 4th, Sandra ended up crashing her car near the Chiquito Pass trailhead in Madera County. This wasn't far from her abandoned campsite, and it didn't appear that the crash was that bad. Other campers were around when it happened, and according to them, Sandra somehow collided with a tree, and her car ended up high-centered on a stump in a ravine. Based on witnesses and the damage to her car, Sandra wasn't going very fast at the time of the crash. Since other campers were around, around, they offered to help her, but Sandra refused, saying she was okay. She was then seen walking into the woods alone, and what happened after this has never been explained. It was at this point that Sandra was officially reported missing, and authorities became more concerned after her car crash. A massive search was launched for Sandra, and over the next few days, she was seen 2 more times by separate campers. They each said that she was barefoot and had a bruise on her face. At the time, the campers didn't know that she was a missing person, but they did try to ask if she was okay or if she needed help because she looked a little distressed. According to them, Sandra seemed like she wasn't there, and she ignored anyone that tried to talk to her, continuing to walk deeper into the woods alone. This is when authorities thought that Sandra may have suffered a head injury after her crash just due to her bizarre behavior over those few days. Like I said, she wasn't going very fast at the time she crashed, and the damage to her car suggests that it wasn't that bad of a wreck, and those who talked to Sandra right after the fact said that she didn't appear injured. But I guess if you have a head injury, sometimes it's not always that easy to tell. So authorities cracked down on their search and brought in multiple different agencies, tracking dogs, and even searched for Sandra by air. But at first, nothing was found. Then a few days later, search and rescue found Sandra's sleeping bag inside Yosemite National Park, just 2.5 miles from the crash site. The sleeping bag matched her recent REI purchase, so they knew this belonged to Sandra, but she was still nowhere to be found, and authorities started to lose hope that she would be found alive. Then, seemingly out of nowhere a month later, Sandra was seen by 2 hunters. They are pretty adamant that it was her, and they saw her leaning against a tree near where she crashed her car a month earlier. The hunter said that she made eye contact with them, but didn't try waving them down for help, and at this point in time, she didn't look distressed or anything. They did say that she was noticeably thinner than her last known photos on her missing person poster though. After this, Sandra's case kind of went cold again, and to make things more difficult, a massive fire broke out in this exact area in September of 2020, and it lasted months. This burned up any potential evidence and quite literally changed the terrain, but surprisingly, Sandra's car didn't burn at all. Authorities had left it in the same spot where it crashed, hoping Sandra would return to it, because with her outdoor experience and multiple sightings, it really did seem like she was still alive out there somewhere. But after the fire and it being untouched, authorities then removed it since it was clear that Sandra would not be coming back to it. There would be no movement in this case until almost exactly 1 year after Sandra's disappearance, and what I'm about to say is genuinely so creepy. I get goosebumps every time I talk about it. So in July of 2021, a family decided to go camping in the Shut-Eye Peak area. They brought up their 4-wheeler, so it was going to be a really fun time. Or so they thought. About halfway through the day, they stopped to eat lunch, and this is when their 3-year-old son started pointing out their car window into an open meadow. He told his parents that there was a woman laying face down with her legs straight up in the air in the middle of the meadow. This 3-year-old said that the woman was dead and she wasn't able to talk or move, but she needed their help. This freaked his parents out really bad, so they went to go look around the meadow, fully expecting to see a dead body, but no one was there. When they went back to the car, the 3-year-old proceeded to say that the woman was still there in the exact same spot, and he was pointing directly at her. The woman was wearing a black shirt and jeans, and she had blue hair. And unbeknownst to him, this was exactly Sandra's description to a T at the time she went missing. He just kept repeating that this woman was dead and that she needed their help, so this freaked his parents out enough to make them pack up early and head home since they couldn't see anyone. When they got home, they decided to post their experience on Facebook to see if anyone knew anything about the area, and this is when they found out about Sandra Hughes, who matched the ghost description to a T. They then found out that she disappeared within 5 miles of where they were in the woods. So the parents gave this little boy a bunch of photos, some including Sandra, and he picked Sandra out as the woman he saw in the meadow immediately 3 separate times. The Madera County Sheriff's Office somehow saw this post online and actually contacted the family for more information. Sandra's case was still unsolved, so they thought it couldn't hurt to investigate this tip, even if it was paranormal. So the police, the little boy's dad, and the little boy went back out to where he had seen this dead woman / ghost, and authorities swept the area for literally anything, but they found absolutely nothing. Over the years, there have been multiple searches for Sandra, but it's like she vanished into thin air. Her family says that she was extremely organized and tidy, and she would have never left her campsite abandoned like that. There are a few theories as to what could have happened to her, ranging from accidentally dying of exposure, whether it was from a head injury or not. She could have been met with foul play at some point, or she could still possibly be alive out there somewhere, although the chances of that are slim. And some people believe that her ghost is now haunting the wilderness where she was last seen, and that all of those sightings of her are real. I personally do believe in ghosts, but I'm not entirely sure what to believe in this case. Regardless, it's now been 5 years since Sandra disappeared, and whatever happened to her out there in the Sierra National Forest remains a mystery.
Level 1. Total physical entrapment. Imagine you're stuck 1,000 feet underground. You can't go forward, you can't turn around. You can't even scratch your own nose. This is the lowest level of freedom a human can reach. At this level, it doesn't matter who you are. Your net worth might be 10 billion or zero. It's irrelevant. The only thing that matters is that you can't move. Most of you will never experience level 1. You're probably stuck at level 3 or 4, but we'll get to that later. Level 1 isn't about politics or money. It's when your own body becomes the prison. Just think about it. If you can't move at all, what freedom do you really have? It's not only caves that puts you at level 1. Let's say you're strapped up in a contraption. Physical restraint so tight you can only move your eyes. Doesn't matter if you're the most powerful person in the world. Your freedom is now in the hands of the person with the key. They control you and decide your fate. This level is actually not as rare as you might think. We got locked-in syndrome, where you are conscious and aware but cannot move or communicate. We also have total paralysis, sleep paralysis, drug-induced paralysis. There are actually quite a few ways you can drop down to level 1 quite quickly. All it takes is a syringe. Thankfully, most of level 1 is temporary. A drug will wear off, and you'll probably be freed from your restraints eventually. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how rich, how important. At this level, we are all equals. So if you're lucky enough to choose your own movement, don't take it lightly. You've already escaped the bottom. The only question now is, how far up can you go? Level 2, controlled by force. You've escaped total physical entrapment. Your body works again. You can move, you can speak, you can scratch your nose, but now you face a new kind of trap. Control. One of the clearest examples of this is prison. In an American prison, you're not paralyzed. You're alive and active, but every part of your life is managed. Your movement, your time, your voice. You wake up when you're told. You eat when the schedule allows. You're monitored, searched, counted, confined. Sometimes you even have to take a dump on command. If you refuse to follow the rules, there are consequences. Not just warnings or lectures, but isolation, restraint, even violence. But not all cages are made of bars. At some places, you're free to move and speak, or so it seems. Every action is tracked, every message scanned, every step recorded by a web of surveillance and facial recognition. Say something online that the government doesn't like and it's post too many of the wrong opinions and your social score drops. Suddenly you can't buy a train ticket. You can't rent an apartment. Your children might be banned from better schools. You're not in a cell, but you're still being watched. Most people at this level obey, not because someone is yelling orders, but because the threat is always there. This is a different kind of force. One that doesn't chain your hands, but rather shapes your behavior. You're free to walk, but only in the direction that's allowed. Level 3. Financially bound. At level 3, you've escaped direct control. No one tells you when to eat or when to go out into your yard, and you can post whatever offensive meme you want online. This is probably where you are, and where most people reside all their lives. You're finally free, at least on paper. But you've got a new boss now, and his name is money. Rent, bills, debt, groceries, it's all perfectly calibrated to keep you just barely afloat. You work full-time and still feel broke. Or maybe you're still in school, not because you want to, but because you have to. And the little money you get doesn't buy you much freedom. That next paycheck is keeping you on a tight leash, so how can you call yourself free? Sure, you might say survival always requires effort. Even a medieval hunter had to wake up and track rabbits just to eat. But here's the difference. That hunter answered to nature. You answer to a system that profits off your exhaustion. Your company, your landlord, your bank. The more you work, the more money they make. It's a philosophical debate whether or not you're truly free at this level. But one thing is certain. At level 3, money buys freedom. Freedom to take longer vacations, freedom to quit toxic jobs, freedom to say no. And until you can afford to walk away, you're still playing by someone else's rules. Level 4, false freedom. At this level, you've escaped survival mode. You're no longer living paycheck to paycheck. You've got some savings, a stable job, a strong portfolio. You could even retire early if you keep your lifestyle lean. Your net worth is between $500,000 to $5 million, depending on your age. This feels like freedom, and to be fair, this level isn't bad. In fact, a lot of people would be lucky to get here. You can live a good life at level 4, some peace of mind. Money is no longer your boss. You can finally afford to say no. So what's holding you back? Mostly you. You have choices, but you rarely question them. This is agency freedom, the ability to act, but not autonomous freedom, the ability to act by your own highest values. You're like a smoker who says he values his health, but keeps lighting up. You're living, but not aligned. You're not oppressed, but you're not fully alive either. You're looping through a life that's safe, predictable, familiar, and you've convinced yourself that's all freedom is. This is level 4, comfortable, stable, dull. A life that looks free, and could be as well, if you just let it.
It cut off before it got to the higher ones, but I feel like the lower ones are actually the most interesting ones, because it's like seeing how, like he was saying for level 3, how it feels like, yeah, you're free, but then you're still bound to like your bills, your debt and stuff like that. It's really crazy. I feel like that's where most of us align, including me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all got to be making money somehow to fuel the system.
A 77-year-old man in Mexico received a terrifying demand from the cartel: abandon your home or die. But Allejo Garza Tamez wasn't just an ordinary man. He had built his ranch with his own hands, and no cartel was going to take it from him. So he doesn't call for help, he doesn't pack his bags. Instead, he carefully prepares for battle. Inside the house, Allejo methodically sets up his defense. He loads rifles, places shotguns at every window, and gathers ammunition. The old man moves with quiet determination, ready to fight for his land. At around 4 a.m., the sound of engines can be heard approaching. A convoy of cartel trucks stop outside the ranch. It was quiet until a gunshot filled the night. It was Allejo. He began to shoot multiple cartel members. Gunfire then rained down at the house from the cartel. Allejo moved room to room, using different weapons to make it seem like there were multiple shooters. The cartel scrambles for cover, confused and desperate. Minutes feel like hours, and the cartel were furious as many of their men were now dead. They then resorted to using grenades. They threw them at the house, but this didn't stop Allejo. He continued firing, taking down even more cartel members. After hearing the gunshots, authorities arrived and found only one man dead in the house, which was Allejo. But outside laid countless dead cartel members. Allejo Garza Tamez wasn't a soldier. He wasn't an outlaw. He was just a man who refused to kneel. His final stand became legend, a story of courage that Mexico would never forget.
Did you guys know that Jay-Z's birthday is December 4th, Diddy's birthday is November 4th, and Beyonce's birthday is September 4th? Jay-Z had an album 444, Leah died August 25th, Left Eye died April 25th, Michael Jackson died June 25th. In J. Cole's song, he says, rest in peace Aaliyah, rest in peace Left Eye, Michael Jackson, I'll see ya just as soon as I die. This is a song that has been trending, which is She Knows by J. Cole. A lot of people are saying She Knows sounds like Sean Knowles. Jay-Z's name is Sean, Diddy's name is Sean, just spelled differently. Beyonce's last name is Knowles. Sean Knowles, she knows, Sean Knowles, she knows. What is going on here? J. Cole also referenced Apple Pie, which is a Destiny's Child song named Apple Pie. Another crazy thing is when Beyonce made her country album, recently a country star shouted her out. Thank you, Beyonce, just like how everything, that we've been seeing on TikTok, the country star did it too.
I also just want to say, I'm a country artist, and the fact that Beyonce made a country record changed the game.
So thank you. That's crazy. Beyonce looks surprised. Is she really surprised?
I'm gonna go back to Nashville.
With the theory being that you have to thank Beyonce in order to be okay. It's just wild, and all of these theories coming together, I don't know if they make sense, but I think the craziest thing is JoJo Siwa thanking Beyonce.
Yeah, that thanking Beyonce thing is weird. I've heard about it so many times, and I've always just been like, that's super strange. But to be super fair, Beyonce has been in the game since like probably all of those people have been like babies, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like Beyonce definitely deserves to get her roses, but at the same time, it's a little bit sus how everyone is like, thank you, Beyonce. Like, she's getting glazed way too much, but I also do understand this, so I'm not really too buggy about it.
Theory that everyone around you is an NPC and you're the only real person left. This is a topic that will keep you up at night. The theory is that you're the last conscious person that's left on Earth. The idea that nothing exists outside of your mind. And everyone around you is an NPC. That's it. They're not real. They're just placeholders. The simulation broke a long time ago, and now everything that renders is what you interact with. That's why you might notice how some strangers just look empty. How you've never seen your neighbors carry groceries or even bring them back inside. You've never even seen them outside playing in the yard. Have you ever noticed how your thoughts bleed into reality? You think of a song and it plays. You think of a product and it shows up on your phone without even you talking about it. They say it's not the algorithm, it's your reality syncing with your mind. They say it tries to keep you pacified. Some say that if you dig too deep, if you ask too many questions, if you're just out of place, it's bad. The simulation doesn't reboot, it erases you. What do you guys think about this theory?
What's a conspiracy theory that absolutely blows your mind?
The missing 411 conspiracies. Thousands of people go missing in national forest. Some of them are found dead. Some of them are never found again, but the ones who are found always say they don't want to talk about it or they can't remember what happened. Some kids especially do remember, but the stories they tell are really far-fetched and paranormal, so a lot of people just think they're delusional from the trauma. But here's the thing. The people who have been missing for hours upon hours or days upon days, there's even people missing for over a year. When they're found again, they're perfectly fine. They're not scratched up, they're not beaten up, they don't look like they've been starving, they're fine. One thing researchers have found in common is that there's always berries around the area people go missing, and that most people have dogs with them, and that bad weather always follows their disappearance, washing away any kind of footprints that they can track.
This is just getting out of hand. They have just found radioactive wasps in the United States. This is not even a joke. They don't want us to make it to August. It's now being reported that workers at a former nuclear bomb site in South Carolina came across a wasp's nest, which they sprayed to kill any that might be inside. And when they decided, oh, we'll just give it a little testy, it turns out this nest was so radioactive that it was 10 times over federal regulations. Crazier part is though, is that they don't actually know where any of the wasps are, or if there are any from this nest flying around now. And when they filed their actual report on this whole situation, a watchdog group was pissed because they said that their report failed to explain what made this nest radioactive. Like, where is the source of this? And also, how were wasps exposed to it? And are there any more radioactive nests that are hidden around the place? I mean, what's next? Flies with rabies?
So apparently back in the 1900s, if you asked them, what do you think the world would look like in 100 years? This is something that they came up with. And things like this. In the 1940s, this is what they thought 2011 would look like. But this is important, stay tuned. Now, if you ask people today what they think the world would look like in 100 years, you're probably gonna get a majority of the people saying something like this. But imagine if 100 years ago that they imagined that this would be in 100 years. Imagine what the world would be like now. So why are we doing this now? Why do we think that this is going to be the future? Are we manifesting the correct future by believing in these kind of futuristic images? Or can we change it and start manifesting this kind of future in our minds? I would much rather have things like this. So the next time someone thinks about the future or asks you what you think the future is going to look like, don't think this, think this. And imagine how much we can change the future together with just a simple thought.
I personally think it's 50-50. I feel like either we're going to one, evolve a lot as a species and get to that state where he's talking about, or two, we're going to just self-destruct and destroy ourselves because all these very powerful men in charge just want to play bomb, just want to drop bombs on each other. I'm a really optimistic person, so I think we're going to be like very futuristic in the future, personally.
Have you seen the theory about clocks?
No.
So when you look at a clock, it looks pretty normal. You never think anything of it. But what if I told you there's actually a really dark theory behind the idea of a clock?
What?
Right, you go across the clock, across the way, you see like 11 and 1, it equals 12. 10 and 2 equals 12. 9 and 3 equals 12. 8 and 4 equals 12. 7 and 5 equals 12. And then 6 plus 6 equals 12. They all equal 12.
Wait, what does that mean though?
Well, also think about this. When you go diagonally and look at the numbers and you subtract it, like 12 minus 6 equals 6. 11 minus 5 equals 6. 10 minus 4 equals 6.
Wait, what is going on?
But wait, if you look at this a different way too, if you look across, 12 plus 1 equals 13. 11 and 2 equals 13. 10 and 3 equals 13. 9 and 4 equals 13. It all equals 13.
So what's the theory?
You look at all the numbers, right? It's just weird how you go different formulations and they all equal the same.
That's actually kind of scary.
I don't really want to get into like the exact thing that I saw, but it is weird how everything, equals the same. Comment if you guys know what that is.
Dude,
I don't know. I don't want to say.
That like give me chills just looking.
Did you know these are the people who knew too much and were silenced? Michael Jackson, 25th of June, 2009. It's said that Michael uncovered secrets about a dark network involving high-ranking politicians and minors. The official version states he died from an overdose while trying to sleep that night. But how credible is that explanation? Barnaby Jack, 25th of July, 2013. This famous hacker shocked the world when, during a conference, he demonstrated how some could manipulate pacemakers to cause clean, undetectable deaths. Just days later, Barnaby was found dead in his apartment. A simple coincidence, or was he silenced for what he knew? Daphne Caruana Galizia, 16th of October, 2017. This investigative journalist exposed secrets about the elites and the controversial Panama Papers. Her research placed her in direct conflict with powerful figures. Shortly afterwards, a bomb in her car ended her life. Is it really just a coincidence that all these people met such fates, or did they uncover something they were never meant to know? But what do you think, Comet Silence? If you want me to keep exposing the hidden truth...
What's a conspiracy theory that you 1,000% believe in? I'll go.
The conspiracy behind Wayfair. So I remember when this first was going on, a lot of people were all up in the air about it. Some people believed it, some people didn't believe it, and I happen to be one of those people that really didn't believe it. I thought there was no way that this huge corporation would use their website and certain items and certain coupon codes to possibly sex traffic kids. So I really never thought too much into it until one day something happened that actually changed my mind. So this happened about a year ago. So I work for a pretty well-known bank, and I remember we would always have this older lady come in, and anytime she came in, she would always do a cash deposit and immediately do a wire transfer. So one day I got a chance to help her, and I remember she did the cash deposit, which was like $13,000, all in cash, and immediately wanted to do a wire transfer. So when I started to help her, I remember the account number was written down on like a small piece of paper and the amount. So she was sending about 12,900 and like whatever cents to this account number. So I got to the part where I needed to type in who it was going to, and she told me it was going to Wayfair. And at first I really didn't think too much into it because she did have a business account, and I figured, well, maybe she's buying new furniture for her office or whatever. So after we were done, I started to go through her previous wire transactions just to see where all these other wires were going that she did prior. And they were all going to Wayfair. There was like 6 or 7 different wires that she was doing in the past like 60 days. And that's when I changed my mind. I knew that there was no way that this person that is always doing cash deposits and immediately doing a wire transfer afterwards to Wayfair, sending them thousands of dollars in 2 months, was buying furniture. There was no way. And I remember shortly after I reported the account just for like secondary review or whatever. And next thing I know, she never comes in again. I never see her again, ever.
Scariest conspiracy theories in the world that will seriously change your life. This shows all the conspiracy theories in the world, from the most well-known to the darkest of the dark, that will literally change your life. Most of you already know by now, but if you're new here, in this series we're going from the top to the bottom. Today, guys, this is a banger. You won't see life the same, you won't see kids the same, and you probably won't be able to sleep for a long time. So, let's go. This is Rebirth theory. Probably the biggest theory out there is what happens when you die. One theory for it, believable, and will have you thinking for a long time. For a lot of people who have died and come back to life, you know, people describe the light at the end of the tunnel. So, this links into reincarnation theory as well, actually. What if that light at the end of the tunnel is actually the hospital light? Stay with me, hear me out. It's actually you being born. What do babies do when they come out? They cry and they scream. So what if the reason you cry and you scream when you come out is because you remember everything that just happened? You remember just dying. You remember seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and now suddenly being alive again, and you know exactly what happens after death, but you can't talk. You can't tell anyone, you're still a baby now. And what if slowly as you grow up, the memories fade away and you forget everything? We may have all lived tons of lives. We may have been reborn hundreds and hundreds of times, but we won't remember, ever. Only for that faint few seconds when you're first born. Boom. Do you hear that follow button? It's gonna get even crazier.
This is fucked. When you scroll on TikTok, every single time your eyes go like this, it actually increases your dopamine.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, they perfectly made TikTok so that it stimulates our eyes to increase dopamine. You can imagine we're scrolling like this.
Yeah.
Fam.
Always.
Up and down, up and down. Wow. Every single time our eyes go up and down. If you do this, up and down, for like 5 minutes, you'll feel happy. Go, do it. Up and down, up and down. Yeah, keep doing it. You get excited? Tell me you get excited, fam. I swear to God, it's crazy.
That's fuck.
Crazy shit, right? They scientifically knew that. There's no reason TikTok couldn't be like horizontal.
Yeah, you know, when they switched Instagram to this,
yeah,
it was like some random day where
to the right.
To the right.
Yeah, they were trying to do like Tinder. It didn't work.
It didn't hit.
It didn't hit. The moment they did up and down, it started hitting. Yeah.
Every dating app.
Yeah.
It's like this, no?
Dating app is side to side. This is fucked too. When you put your eyes side to side, what happens?
I don't know what happens.
It stimulates your pleasure and relaxation.
Yo, man.
You know the cat clocks that go eye to eye?
Yeah.
That's made to like make you calm. I mean, it's made to like give that setting, give that vibe of the room.
What the fuck?
It's side to side, side to side.
That's so smart though.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that shit.
Everything here is so like genetically modified in a way. Like they're specifically put things in food, in the apps, on the phones, just so we stay more hooked. Which I guess is cool if you're trying to like, I guess, enjoy what you have. But at the same time, that can get you so caught up in like just for like hours just wasting your life away.
Yo, the glitter conspiracy is a rabbit hole you are not ready for. So I didn't know this, but there's legit only like 2 main manufacturers of glitter in the world, both of which are based in New Jersey, of all places. And yes, I'm talking like regular glitter, the same stuff you use in arts and crafts. One of these companies is like super secret and private, that apparently invented glitter themselves and is very hush-hush about everything. And the other is GlitterX. No one really thought much of it until it came out that we actually have a worldwide shortage of glitter back in 2018. Kind of a weird thing to be short of. So a journalist from the New York Times went in to interview the team at GlitterX to find out. She casually asked if she could tour the factory, and surprisingly, GlitterX told her absolutely not. Like there was no debate about it. She was strictly not allowed to see how glitter was made, and wasn't even allowed to be in a nearby room to even hear how it's made. So instead, she was just left to interview a manager at the company, and things just kept getting sketchier. She asks the manager if she could tell her what industry serves as her biggest market, and the GlitterX rep instantly, without hesitation, tells her, no, I absolutely cannot tell you. Confused, the journalist asks her if she knows who their biggest customer is, and she replies with, oh god, yes, and you would never guess it. Let's just leave it at that. Asking why she can't talk about it, she responds by saying because they don't want anyone to know that it is glitter, and that if you looked at it, you wouldn't even know that it's glitter. The journalist then asks if you'd even be able to see the glitter at all in the finished product, to which the manager replies, oh, you'd be able to see something, but it's, yeah, I can't. And this interview single-handedly sparked the great glitter rabbit hole of the internet. Apparently, these clients that purchase glitter are all under a very strict confidentiality clause with GlitterX. They really do not want people to know that their products are made from the sparkly stuff. The industry these products are part of is clearly massive, yet no one knows what it is. So what even is glitter? By definition, it is aluminum metallized polyethylene terephthalate, essentially plastic that has been aluminized and shredded into tiny specks that sparkle. And it's used in a lot of things, from credit cards, passports, currency, football helmets, cosmetics, jet skis, granite countertops, even toothpaste, allegedly. But none of these are quite big enough to be this top industry buyer of glitter. One of the leading theories is that this biggest glitter industry is for boat paint, which many manufacturers do admit they use it in their boats. And they don't want people to know about it because of how much microplastics in the glitter these boats are really dumping into the ocean, which is a hot topic these days and is why they'd want to keep it such a secret. Others claim that it's being dumped into beaches to make the sand sparkle, or that it's just Crest toothpaste and we're rubbing the microplastics directly into our gums, as well as for use in military applications, which would obviously be highly classified, and this is where the theory takes an unexpected turn. Remember that super secret company that basically founded glitter, the other New Jersey company that isn't GlitterX? Turns out they're actually not as big of a secret as they'd like to be, called Meadowbrook Inventions, which was founded by Henry F. Rushman, a German-American machinist who invented modern glitter in the 1930s, and also happened to be part of the Manhattan Project, the highly classified operation that created the atom bomb. So the guy who invented glitter also helped create the world's first nuclear weapon. Who would have known? Meadowbrook's machines that make glitter are also commonly used for government contracts for products like rocket fuel, airplane brake shoes, and anti-radar chaff, which are chopped up fibers they shoot out of military planes that can block radar, redirect heat-seeking missiles, and can even be used to simulate poor weather conditions on radar. Good thing the government would never do that. Henry W. Rushman, the son of the original creator, was interviewed and even admitted to what they were really using glitter for all these years, specifically mentioning money, passports, toothpaste, and all those military applications like that anti-radar chaff, and even mentioned it was used in special batteries they produced for a military contractor called Picatinny Arsenal. Batteries that he claimed produce more electricity than any other battery we've ever known, and was pretty quiet about it after that. If there's anything we've learned about the government, it's that they love spending money, and their budget budget is essentially endless, especially if it's for the military. And given all these military uses of glitter, as well as its founder's roots in the Manhattan Projects and connection to atomic bombs, this one might be our answer. What other industry could be so secret that the New York Times article described it as CIA levels of obfuscation? How about the CIA itself? Perhaps once again the government is behind it all, using the same sparkly powder found in children's art projects for military applications, fighter jets, rocket fuel, money, and passports. Possibly even some new high-tech super battery they don't want the rest of us to know about. What a plot twist that would be if glitter of all things ends up being the government's top secret weapon to control the masses.
Here's a conspiracy theory for you that became conspiracy fact. In the 1920s, Edward Bernays and Paul Mazur set out on an experiment to turn Americans into mindless, insatiable consumers. I do not like where this one is going. They had an idea to train Americans to desire to ever consume more and more goods and services, with no real reasoning behind the desire to purchase new things. The idea was that this would result in turning every single American into profit-consuming, but also product-producing zombies, slaves to the system, if you will, and that this would eventually empower the ruling elite. We must shift America from a needs to a desire culture, said Paul Mazur. People must be trained to desire, to want new things, even before the old have been entirely consumed. We must shape a new mentality, and man's desires must overshadow his needs. That's a direct quote from one of the craziest people I've ever read about. Because if you just look around the United States, it's pretty clear that that plan completely worked. And if you found that story crazy, check out what we've got over on Rockfin.
Literally exactly what I said at the start of the video. It's just like, I feel like everything here is just so designed to just like hook you in. Like it's like they specifically researched everything here to be addictive for you, which I guess like is cool, but at the same time really not cool, because now a lot of people don't have that self-control to be like, all right, I'm not gonna eat McDonald's for the 18th time this week.
Creepy Conspiracy Theories Part 2. Sophia, the first robot citizen in the world, once said that she would destroy humans. During a live demonstration, Sophia's creator asked her, "Do you want to destroy humans? Please say no." And with a blank expression, Sophia responded, "Okay, I will destroy humans." First of all, whoever created her should be in jail after hearing that. And second, throw the whole robot away. Get rid of it. I guess the theory here is that robots might try and take over the world. 14 years before the Titanic sank, a man named Morgan Robertson wrote a novel about a ship named Titan. This ship also sank in the North Atlantic Ocean in the same month as the Titanic. The ship in the story also struck an iceberg located at the same distance from Newfoundland. Did this author predict the sinking of the Titanic? There is no way that's just a coincidence. And lastly, this is more of a fact than a theory. The world's scariest haunted house is so scary that all guests are required to have a mental and physical evaluation before they can enter. No one has ever completed the haunted house, and today has a waiting list of over 24,000 people. I've heard about this and even read parts of the waiver. There is a literal part in this haunted house where a dentist comes in and can rip your teeth out. Who the hell is signing up for this?
Conspiracy theories that will make you rethink everything you know. The last one is chilling. The last moments of consciousness, before death can feel like a literal eternity, and where your mind can create entire realities from blissful to horrifying. So in a way, the threat of enduring a hellscape of eternal suffering is very real no matter what you believe. When you write "weep" in the comments, an emoji should appear. If it doesn't, your phone is probably a fake. The American candy stores in London are money laundering schemes. Did you know that TikTok knows who has a crush on you? Your secret admirer is the second person when you click on share than WhatsApp. Women's fashion industry makes pockets so small because it's driving sales of purses. All our devices listen in on us to sell info companies for advertising. Before the last fact, make sure to press the like button and hit the plus to stay up to date with the most interesting yet creepy conspiracies. Chapstick provides instant relief and makes your lips more chapped so that you have to keep using it.
Welcome campers and camp whores to the Daily Camper Week of July 25th, 2010. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get started.
This anonymous web show is one of the most disturbing things that's ever existed on the internet. What I just showed you was a clip from an online program called The Daily Capper. The Daily Capper was a program put on by pedophiles all across the world. And this was the head of a community of people known as cappers. This online community of pedophiles known as cappers would go onto the profiles of underage girls and boys, flatter them with compliments, shower them with praise, then try to get them to flash them so that they could take a screen cap of their nude body. And after that, these pedophiles would then blackmail these children with these images. They would send these photos to friends, family members, schools. And there were all sorts of code words and online forums where these cappers, aka disgusting pedophiles, would meet and exchange information. The Daily Capper itself, this program, was a program put on by these pedophiles to talk about news and events that were happening within this pedophile community. It's really disturbing to me that they chose this because I used to watch the show Crashbox as a child, and I think that it's eerie and haunting that they're actually using imagery from a children's show for this pedophile network. Now, sadly, one of the victims of this capping community was a girl named Amanda Todd. Amanda's story is particularly well known because of the YouTube video she created before she took her own life. But at one point during Amanda's stages of cyberbullying, she was featured repeatedly on the Daily Capper, this program. And the intro always started like this: "Welcome cappers and cam whores." And then at the end, the newscaster up here would say, "Happy hunting," encouraging these pedophiles to go target more children. And they would do awards at the end of the year for the best, most prolific pedophiles in their community. These awards that they gave out included Blackmailer of the Year, Capper of the Year, Cam Whore of the Year, Cam Site of the Year, and Shocker of the Year, where they were basically giving awards to pedophiles and their victims. There's a lot of information online about this whole show and these pedophiles, but something really disturbing to me is the fact that most of the people involved in the Daily Capper were never brought to justice and they were never caught. That means that all of these pedophiles that were celebrating with each other and glorifying their disgusting acts are still out there, probably on the internet today. And to end this, I'm going to show you one more clip from the show, which I find is particularly disturbing.
Candy Beaches returned this week for the first time in a month. The reason they were gone so long is because they said someone called the police on them. Twice. I think I know what this is all about.
Been reported to the cyber police and the state police.
Looks like he wasn't joking around. Maybe it was their Good Morning America interview that prompted cyber police.
Have you heard the conspiracy theory that Wayfair is trafficking humans?
What? No.
This isn't proven, right? So Wayfair has these weirdly priced items on there. Like there was a safe, a little like small safe, right? And it's named after a person that went missing in Chicago.
What?
So the safe is named like Amelia, right? And it's listed for $150,000. Or a chair named Brooke that's listed for $200,000.
That's crazy.
It's a thing that people have seen on Wayfair for years, but it's just been ignored. No one has done anything about it. I don't know if anyone has bought these items to see what comes in the mail, but it's so weird because it's so common. It happens all the time.
For real?
Yeah, so there have been hundreds of listings like this, and they usually go up right after somebody turns up missing and their family's crying for them and pleading for them to come home. Yeah, it is honestly one of the weirdest things I have ever seen.
These are some of the conspiracy theories that I actually 100% believe in, and the last one actually scares me with how much I believe it. I'm not even sure if this is a conspiracy theory, but I actually do believe that like people do have powers, like psychics and mediums. I do believe that some people do possess those powers. I don't think the people that can possess these powers like are able to control them, so I do believe that a majority of the time they do have to lie to like keep up with like the public image. If you would be interested in me doing a video on true crime cases that have been solved by psychics, let me know. I also don't think Brittany Murphy or Natalie Wood's deaths happened the way that they said they did. And if you guys want a video on either of those, again, let me know, because both of those cases like keep me up at night. If I sound a little weird or my nose is a little red, I'm having like the worst cold right now. And honestly, it's like another conspiracy theory because why is everyone sick right now? This is a conspiracy theory I think I believe like the most out of like almost any conspiracy theory, and it's the one that actually scares me the most with how much I believe it. The chances are very likely that we're actually living in a simulation, and my thought process there is if we believe with the way that technology has grown in the past 20 years that it's possible that we would be able to create a simulation so lifelike that the people in it wouldn't even know, that it's possible that we're living in that currently. I used to waitress and bartend at this like high-end restaurant a little bit ago, and I swear like the exact same people would come in. I would have like a row of booths, and it would be like an old man with glasses and a baseball hat sitting across from his wife, who was like an old lady wearing like a red cardigan, but every booth would be that, and they would all order the same thing. If you think I sound dumb right now, then I probably do, because I'm not a scientist or a philosopher. But I think my first point stands that if you think a simulation like that could one day exist, then what's to say that we're not living in it right now? In the comments, let me know if I should go like more in depth on any of these and what conspiracy theory you 100% believe.
Yeah, I don't know. The simulation theory to me makes sense, but I don't know. We really don't know what this is, so it could be anything if I'm being honest. But I've seen that you guys actually really like my simulation and glitch in the matrix videos, so I would say like towards the middle of August I'm gonna start posting more of those type of videos, because I've seen that you guys really like those.
Okay, so you know how they say that the past, present, and future is all existing simultaneously? The way that we perceive time in chronological order linearly is not the way that time actually moves if the past, present, and future are all existing simultaneously. Everything in the universe starts with the Fibonacci sequence. The universe is literally composed of mathematical equations. Every single thing grows in this pattern. It's a hurricane, a galaxy, an ammonite, a succulent, an acorn. You can even see this in any fetus. Galaxies are formed this way. Like, the list goes on, you get it. When you see the Fibonacci sequence in 3 dimensions, you see it in these staircases or in a tornado. So for those that believe this block theory that time is not happening linearly, that all time is happening simultaneously, and time is happening in the 4th dimension, stay with me. What if time is happening in the Fibonacci sequence? Like, if you take a look at this staircase, every single person on this staircase, no matter what point they're at on the staircase, they can see each other. Another one made of glass, just to make you get the idea better. I know this might be hard to grasp, but I feel like I'm onto something here. If everything starts and grows in this pattern, what if this is the energetic architecture of the path of our lives, the growth of our lives, and the way that time moves? In 2016, when I first opened my third eye, I had this vision of the Fibonacci sequence unwinded like this in the 3 dimension, and I saw a man go through his entire life in the Fibonacci sequence. But the bottom was the widest point and the top was the smallest point. He started his life at the bottom, at the opening, and as he went up to death and enlightenment, he got to the top. As that path narrows, though, there's less and less room. Like, pretend you're in a tunnel and you have less room for things that are unimportant. So I was watching this man go through this cycle of his life where all of these things that he thought were important no longer became important the closer that he got to death. There is something about the Fibonacci sequence that is so sacred that my brain is trying so hard to understand, because I am always getting these downloads about the Fibonacci sequence and I cannot quite put my finger on what the fuck it is. But the other day, get this download. Time moves in the Fibonacci sequence. That is how you can see all time happening simultaneously, because no matter what point you are at in the Fibonacci sequence, whether it is unwound in the 3D or it is in 2 dimensions, you would be able to see at any given point in time. Does that make sense? Or do I just sound crazy?
I don't know if that's just me, but it actually made sense to me. Like, when you really think about what she's saying, it kind of makes sense.
You ever hear the toothpaste theory?
Toothpaste?
Yeah. You know how the toothpaste, at the bottom of that shit, there's always like a block of color?
Oh,
like,
yeah, it's white, so it's white.
Yeah, white, but on the thing, there's like a little square.
Yeah.
Yo, check this
What
out.
is that? What is that?
It's either, fam, you either get a black square, a red square, a blue square. What the fuck? Yo, you know what I'm talking about though, right?
Yeah, I know exactly
Fam,
what
I'm gonna show you a picture. So you see the toothpaste, right?
Yeah.
So you either get black, green, red,
black.
or blue. You know what those mean?
No, isn't it just like anti-cavity,
No, they're all the same toothpaste brand. They're all the same type of toothpaste.
Oh, shit.
But theory goes that or the people that know the code stay away from certain colors of the toothpaste.
Whoa.
So it's like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
The code is if you have the green on your toothpaste, it means it's all natural. If you have the blue, it says it has natural plus medicine.
Okay.
If it has red, it's natural with chemical. And if it has black, it's all chemical. That's a theory. You think about why the does all the toothpaste have that shit? And it's all the same toothpaste. Now, if you were part of some like across the world when you're going to buy products. How are you supposed to know which one's safe for you?
Fuck.
Dude, are we serious? I really hope that theory and conspiracy theory is not true, because that's crazy. But at the same time, why would they have different color codes on like the little part right there, right?
There's a theory going around that people who've never broken a bone aren't normal, not special, not lucky, just different. Some say their bones don't break because they're not supposed to, like their body knows something we don't. Or worse, that they're not fully human. There's even talk in certain forums, people wondering why these individuals also tend to heal fast, don't get sick often, and sometimes don't even remember major injuries. One theory says they're part of a hidden group, a genetic experiment, or something older, something not from here. But here's the weirdest part. A handful of people who've never broken a bone, they all disappeared after sudden freak accidents. Coincidence? Or did something come back for them? So, have you ever broken a bone?
If you are black, brown, gay, Muslim, or Jewish, you are not welcome here. Because this is a new whites-only community being built in America, and they call themselves Return to the Land. And if you don't hold what they consider traditional values, or have European ancestry, then you are not allowed in. Bro, even the dog is white. Now, the settlement is based in the secluded Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, and the founders call it an international community based on shared ancestry. Oh, and that they are simply preserving their culture. Not only that, but they also claim this is not segregation. This is merely free association, and that they have the right to have control over who their neighbors are. The men are expected to work hard in leveling land and building cabins, while the women look after the kids and cook. Those are the traditional values that they were talking about. And because Return to the Land aims to promote strong families and common ancestry, they're even offering cash prizes to couples who have kids. And while they currently only have about 40 people living here, they apparently have hundreds of paying members around the world. They also say they want to build more communities like this across America, and even in other countries too, with 3 more currently in progress, coming to a woods near you. But if you thought that was wild, it gets crazier, because in a recent interview, the leader of Return to the Land, Eric Oberl, described Adolf Hitler as merely a controversial figure, and that the mainstream view of him is one-sided. Now, you're probably wondering, how is this even legal? Well, it isn't. Probably. Maybe. You see, according to the community, who have apparently spent tens of thousands in legal research, well, they say that they've technically set this up as a private club. And so because of that, they believe that they're exempt from equality legislation. However, legal experts disagree. And the Arkansas Attorney General said that he wasn't even aware of what was going on. But now his team are reviewing the matter. So yeah, basically the community's legal status hasn't been tested yet in court. So the question is, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I thought it was illegal, because I've heard that if you discriminate against certain types of people, it's illegal. So if that really does get reviewed, which it probably will, because it's such big news now that this famous TikToker had a post about it, it's probably going to get shut down, even if it's a quote-unquote private club. But that's always interesting that people try to do stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, I just don't grow out of those idealism of like separation, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you all for watching this here video.